So, in a shocking turn of events, there are protests in Mexico due to American immigrants. Yes, that's right. The irony has is not, how do we say it? The irony is not past me. I don't know what the saying is, but we get to see the hypocrisy of Mexican citizens living in Mexico City upon having an influx of American migrants, of course, working their cushy jobs from the US, or rather, the jobs being in the US and them living in Mexico, obviously remote jobs, collecting US dollars and spending them in Mexico City, and therefore living large, while the Mexican residents unfortunately are suffering due to rising costs. But like I said, the irony is not past us, but it seems to be past these Mexican citizens because a lot of them say word for, I mean, before we even start this, like, look at this sign. It says, "Here we speak Spanish." By the way, I am a Mexican American, born in the U.S. to Mexican parents. I'm the perfect person to cover this. All right, the perfect person. And here they say, "Here we speak Spanish." Imagine somebody saying this in the U.S. Here we speak English here. The irony. I mean, come on, you couldn't write this. You know what I mean? Yeah, you say this to somebody in the U.S. and you're a racist. You know it's what's wrong? How dare you say that? You should be accepting of immigrants. Here we speak Spanish. And by the way, I'm very sympathetic to the Mexicans here in this case. Yeah, you should speak Spanish if you're in a Spanish-speaking country. You should speak Spanish. Now, mind you, this is a special case. English is a special case because it has become the kind of lingua franca of the world. Is that the saying? Lingua franca. Yeah, it's the common language of the world. If two people from random countries meet up somewhere in the world, they're going to try to speak English to each other because most people speak English. You know, most people from other countries, you know, it's the richest people in the world come from English speaking countries. You want to cater to people that speak English, right? No matter what country you're from. So it's a little bit different when you visit a country and you only speak English. Like, you can expect to survive with your English because, like I said, it's the lingua franca. Like, speak most people speak English. If you're like a Japanese tourist visiting France, you're going to hope that your English is good enough to get you by and that the French people also speak a little bit of English. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. The point is, I agree with the Mexicans. You should speak the language of the country you're living in. But as we'll see, it goes both ways. You know what I mean? The Mexicans living here should speak English and the Americans living there should speak Spanish. So anyways, let's read a little bit of what's happening. Visitors victimized in latest over-tourism protest. That would be American visitors. This says regulation of real estate. This says here we speak Spanish. This says gentrification. I don't know what despojo is. Is progress. Gentrification is not progress. I assume despojo is, how do you say, like kicking somebody out? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I was about to drink my drink there. A protest against gentrification and mass tourism in Mexico City escalated into violence on Friday. We'll see some of that in a little bit, with masked individuals smashing storefronts and harassing foreigners in popular areas. Now, it seems like only a small amount of the protesters were violent. I don't want to sound like the people covering the BLM riots, like where they're mostly peaceful. But from what I saw, I didn't read too much on this. I didn't prepare too much for this video. Obviously, I'm doing this on a whim. I'm doing this kind of ad lib. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I'm doing this without preparation is what I'm saying. And I skimmed some of these articles, but I don't know exactly. Obviously, I'll show you some video. There were some violent protesters, but I don't think the majority of them, it looks like the majority of them were like this in the town square or whatever, just kind of protesting like a normal, peaceful protest. Demonstrators, some of whom screamed at tourists, later moved to the U.S. Embassy, where graffiti reading "Get out of Mexico" was seen on shattered glass. Imagine, get out of my country. The unrest stems from rising tensions over an influx of American digital nomads since 2020, which has caused rents to soar and displaced local residents. Like I said, I'm sympathetic to this. Obviously, if you have people from a country where their income and their currency is stronger than the local income, well, you're going to displace local residents and the cost of living is going to rise. So, excuse me. Police reinforcements were deployed around the U.S. Embassy as sirens sounded in the city center following the Mexican police doing something. I'm shocked. The incident reflects a growing trend of anti-tourism protests in major cities worldwide, including European capitals, where record numbers of visitors are straining local resources. Now this is a little different from the European thing because this isn't an anti-tourism protest. It's more like an anti-immigration protest, right? It's more akin to what's happening the other way around. Mexicans living in the U.S. This is Americans living in Mexico. This isn't them like visiting. And it seems like the Spanish, in Spain is where these protests were, these anti-tourism protests. It seems like they were more specifically towards tourism, like people just coming and spending money and then leaving. Which I don't know that much about those, so I can't say. I don't really know what they were protesting, but yeah, this is significantly different. So it's weird that they mention it here. Oh, that's it. Where's the rest of the article? Info. Is that what this is? Don't tell me I have to pay for this article. Okay. Let's see if there's something interesting here. Mass protests smashed windows in touristic areas. Some screamed at tourists. They had police reinforcements and marked a violent end to a more peaceful march throughout the day, calling out against masses of American tourists who have flooded into Mexico's capital in recent years. Yeah, so like I said, it seems like it started off kind of peaceful and became a little more violent later on. Now let's see. Citizens of countries like US, okay. Protests have erupted. It looks like that's pretty much it. And then you got some article slop there. But that's most of it. We're going to look at some video of... I want to bring up this image, all right? But I think it'll come up later. This sign specifically right here and what it says. Because like I said, you'll see a lot of the hypocrisy, a lot of the irony. As we look at this thumbnail on the side. I don't know if y'all can see that. But it says, speak Spanish or get out. That is hilarious, like I said. The irony is strong in this story. Now, let's watch some video of the protests. Move this over a little bit. Today we're fighting against gentrification. Gentrification is the process by which the original residents of the neighborhoods are displaced by people with greater purchasing power. That is, people coming from other countries, mostly foreigners, who want to impose their culture, their prices, and displace Mexicans and people of these. Now, let me read what he said. I'm not translating on the fly. I'm just reading what he says, but I don't think these people want to impose their country, want to impose their culture, and their prices. I think it's just convenient. I think they just want a cheaper place to live, bro. Americans, expats have been a thing. I don't know how long they've been a thing, but they've been a thing for a while. Like, this isn't something new. And this isn't specific to Mexico. It's not like they have something against Mexico. They're just living in another country, bro. Like, and mind you, this same logic could be applied to Mexicans living in the U.S. I live in Dallas. There's whole areas of Dallas, like chunks of Dallas. Like, if you go to the Garibaldi, is that how you say it? Bazaar? If you don't speak Spanish, you're not gonna make it that far in the bazaar. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get. I'm sure you can find people that are conversational. It's gonna be a little hard to get around. You know what I mean? To buy stuff, you're gonna be pointing and asking in your broken Spanish if you don't speak Spanish. You're gonna ¿cuánto? And then you're gonna pull out the translate and put the numbers to see how much it is. Like, you make the same argument. Like, what did this guy say? Like, these are people who are coming from other countries, mostly foreigners who want to impose their culture. Mexican people have imposed their culture in the U.S. Like, Mexican culture is kind of a staple of the U.S. now, in the southern, in California and Texas and New Mexico, Arizona, in these southern states. It kind of is. And now, mind you, obviously the United States is the melting pot. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, with the mixing of cultures, I mean. But it's not a mix when you're isolating yourself, and that's what's happening here. You'll see in the other, there's a tab open that says Little America, like where the Americans are congregating in Mexico City. They started calling it Little America because it's, a community. It's like Asian, like areas of the United States that are like Chinatown, for example, like areas where people congregate to share a culture. But now here, there's nothing wrong with, like, that's pretty normal, having a Chinatown or, whatever countries, like a bunch of shops that, even Hispanic shops, like, that's fine. But imagine if we applied this guy's logic, then you're racist. If I were to say the Mexicans want to come here and impose their culture and displace us, and that's what they're actually doing. But if I say that, I'm a racist. But this guy, he's just in his belief, I guess.
Extranjeros a querer imponer su cultura, sus precios y desplazar a los mexicanos, a los nativos de estas tierras.
Now, mind you, the natives thing is, I know somebody's gonna get, the Americans are natives. these people aren't either. If you, if an average Mexican takes a DNA test, like 30 to 60% is going to be like Spanish for most people. You know, about half of it is going to be Spanish. Like, what is a native even? There are no natives in the New World. You know what I mean? I hate this language. Like, oh, the native people. Like, nobody's a native, bro. Like, this shit doesn't exist anymore. If anybody has natives, it's the Asian countries. You know what I mean? Even the Europeans are like all mixed blood. Maybe not all of them, but anyway, that's just the point. I'm here because gentrification is just one more step towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation of our resources. Well, first of all, I'd have to look up what gentrification, like the textbook, hurts. Professors renovating and improving a neighborhood often with the influx of higher income neighbor. Okay, I mean, I guess it is gentrification, but bro, if it replaced gentrification with immigration, and I could say this about the U.S., this is one step towards colonization, dispossession, and exploitation of our resources. They're taking our jobs. I could say that about immigrants in the U.S., about Mexicans in the U.S. Like, yeah, they're trying to impose their culture. Like I said, the irony is palpable in this story. It's just funny. It's just a funny story. Like, everything they say about Americans, an American has been saying about Mexicans in the U.S., except when they say it, they're called racist. And these people, you know, we'll read some of the comments, though. I'll react to some of the comments. Like I said, the irony is strong. The comments are probably better than the story. But it won't be long before... Look, this is wild. Right now it's about the people, but it won't be long before they run out of oil, water, in other countries and come and take them from us. It's a free market, bro. Like, just sell it. Why did the Arab countries have so much money? Saudi Arabia and Qatar and whatever else. Because they have natural resources and they sold it. If you have natural resources, just mine and sell them on the open market. You know what I mean? Like, are you done? Like, that's not how it works. Now, of course, they're saying out gringos. It's not against tourism. It's against tourism. It's not against tourism. It's against gentrification. Very different. Yeah, I don't know that much about gentrification itself. Like, even here in the U.S., I don't think there is a problem with gentrification. I mean, you're improving land. People are moving to other parts. Like, as long as there's supply, and I think that comes up later, like the supply of real estate, of, you know, rental units, places where you can live. Like, the supply of housing should increase when gentrification happens, because rich people move in and poor people move out to some other place and new units get built. It's just supply and demand. If the units don't get built, it's because there's something impeding the creation of that supply. It's either regulation or labor or resources. Something is in the way to prevent the creation of that supply. So in a perfect world, perfect free market, most of the times it's regulation in the way. New supply would get built. You'd get more housing built as more people move in. You know, people move into the rich area. There's more lower income housing getting built. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's not like you have a right to live in a specific area. You know what I mean? It's a free market. You live where you can afford. Anyway, I'm getting off on a real estate thing here, but that comes up in this story as well. Mexicans want Americans out of Mexico. What dimension is this? Lol. Like, this comment is highlighting the truth here. Title is wrong. These protests are not. This person spelled it wrong. Not about tourism, but gentrification and immigration. Yeah, I agree. But it's funny that people are so like irked by the title. Let's make Mexico for Mexicans again. LMAO, or where did you steal this one from? The same thing is happening in my country. I don't know if I want to talk about a person's country. Gentrification, tourism. Okay, yeah, I don't know if this comment is relevant. I ain't reading all that, bro. This is okay. A lot of these comments are just they don't like the reverse Uno card from the look of it. I just know the comments are. What do you mean? Because of USA people living in Mexico? The problem is different. Mexican immigrants in the United States work for a low salary. And although the concept may seem strange, it turns out that Mexican illegal immigrants actually pay taxes to be able to pay for their homes, while the American migrants work remotely for American companies while living in Mexico without paying taxes. I'm being an arse here with the accent, with the voice. While the American migrant workers work remotely for America without paying taxes. I see this claim a lot. Without paying taxes, I don't know how true this is, mind you. I have it on good authority, let's just say, that there are illegal immigrants who live here and don't pay their taxes. Why? Because you don't have a social security number. If you don't have one, how is the government going to know you're not paying taxes? So yeah, I know damn well that there's illegals here that don't pay their taxes. Obviously, because if you can't, the government can't track you. How would they know? Now some do pay taxes. Obviously, we have so much tax here. We get taxed on everything. Like yeah, you pay sales tax, you pay property tax if you own a place, whatever. But for the most part, you don't pay income tax. Especially if you're like a contractor or something. You like work for yourself. Which a lot of migrants type of work migrants do. What else did this person say? Paying and buying houses without any restriction. We could say that the problem is basically the opposite. It can be said that the Mexican migrant could displace workers from their job, while the American displaces Mexicans from their home. Hey, well, this guy at least admits it. Yeah, Mexican migrants displaces workers. Like, yeah, he's right. I thought he was gonna go completely different here, but yeah, it's like kind of like a twisted, backwards way. This person, it doesn't matter. Are you jealous or something? Didn't even understand the comment. I think this is supposed to be like defending the American side, but yeah, Mexican illegals depress wages while American migrants in Mexico increase costs. So it's like two sides of the same coin. Like, yeah, if immigration happens, like, especially from different economic regions, like one prosperous, one not so much, let's say for Mexico, yeah, you're going to have effects on prices and wages and things like this. But obviously, they're going to be different depending which way it's going. An estimated 1 million Americans are living illegally in Mexico. American citizens never consider how truly arrogant we are as a society. Oh, shut up. I have a friend living in Mexico for 3 years now, and he has not even tried to learn the language. He does not intend to. Totally lame. You know how many? I know damn well, bro. There's so many. I know damn well there's so many Mexicans and Hispanics in general from other countries, not just Mexico, that live in the U.S. that don't plan on learning the language. There's people that, even first generation people, where the kids like speak mostly Spanish. Like, bro, you're first generation American. Your first language should be English. And yet this person's defending Mexicans, or defending Mexicans against Americans, saying they don't even want to speak the language. Neither do they. They come over here, they don't want to speak the language either. Like I said, there's whole communities of, in Dallas at least, I don't know about the rest of the United States, but at least in Hispanic areas where if you don't speak Spanish, you aren't going to get that far. And most of them don't speak English, like not even conversational. My grandma has been here like 50 years, I think. Doesn't speak a lick of English, like no English. Could not have a conversation. She knows like words, of course. Now, mind you, my grandma got here a long time ago, but she didn't. I don't know. She's like poorly educated, so you can't fault her for that. Like, I'm not trying to offend her here or anything, but I feel like she at least has an excuse. Most people get here way younger than her. Like, you know what I mean? Way more educated and they still can't learn English. Like, bro, I don't know. But like I said, it's because Mexicans and Hispanics come here and have their communities. They don't have to leave them. And so they never have to use English. They can get by just speaking Spanish because they speak it most of the time. And then when they need a little bit of English, they get by pointing and, using hand signals or whatever. So anyway, this is irrelevant. Too bad they don't take this type of action against the cartels that have ruined their country. So true. Make Mexico great again? Funny. Want Americans out of Mexico? Y'all want to trade this? Of course, my friend. Yeah, okay. And the Mexicans are now like, yeah, we want them back. Meanwhile, Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, is like, oh, it's so wrong what Trump is doing, sending them back. And saying, oh my gosh, she's going to start me on another rant. Claudia Sheinbaum is so like, the Mexican immigrants in America have improved their country so much. Like, if that's true and you're so, and you think Mexican immigrants have done so much for the United States, then why don't you take them? Why don't you accept them back? Be like, oh, I'm glad Trump is bringing them back home. And they can make your country prosperous. If that's the case, if that's how it works, you get Mexicans in your country and all of a sudden your country's rich. Well, why wouldn't you want them back? Why wouldn't you want Mexicans back in your country so you can make your country rich? As in Mexico. But of course, that's not how it works. So, I mean, that's why she doesn't want them back. But, this is hypocrisy right here. Of course, my friend. Yeah, of course we want them back. Yeah, tell her saying Trump is the worst person ever because he's sending them back. But yeah, of course, I'm 100% in agreement with this guy. Like, you want them back? Well, that's fine. Like, If the agreement here is you stay in your country and we stay in our country, I'm all for that, and I'm sure most people would be. That would be ideal. Look, here, the irony. Here's some good comments, finally. Economy collapses due to no tourism. That's funny. I don't think the Mexican economy would collapse when there's no tourism, but that's besides the point. Weird how they're not called racist. But, this is a good one. And they have a class system too. It's xenophobic. Their mix is not so... Okay, these comments aren't even addressing the comment. Let me see what this says. Oh, wait, this is the same commenter. Okay, never mind. Give up, people. This joke is writing itself. That's all you have to say to these people, man. Like, doesn't matter. The irony is there. It's palpable. Okay, this is a live stream showing, like, some of the stuff. Oh, I was going to address this paper. We'll do that in a little bit. Let's watch this. So, protesters vandalize businesses, admit anti-democracy. Like, this is anti-immigration. This is freaking Mexican Antifa right here. Look at this. Hooded and bashing up window. Mostly peaceful. Mostly peaceful though. Nobody's stopping them. All masked, hooded. Wait, are these? Oh, hey, I have to say, some of these people don't look American in these businesses. Some of them are, obviously. Who'd imagine you're just chilling in Mexico in some cafe or something. All of a sudden they're like bashing in your business. Look at this. These are the people we want in our country? What the hell? Oh, look at this guy. Look at this guy covering his face with the paper, bro. He knows he's on camera. He doesn't have a mask. No. Not like the police is gonna do anything about them. Why are they covering their face? Yeah, so it seems like they trying to make a gringo go back. That's common.
Want more for your money?
I'm trying to see what some of the signs say. But look at this. An honest Mexican. Any excuse to cause chaos. That's why we are where we are. He's so right. He's honest. We are where we are because of people of low intellectual level and cowardice, as you understand. Yeah, I mean, some honest Mexicans, man. What the hell? That's funny as hell. Scheinbaum is fleeing to Tel Aviv. LMAO. Mexican people, please avoid violence and do peaceful protests. When has that worked? I'm down to be corrected. That's funny. And he brings up all the ones where it's worked. How about no? The American population is CDMX is not huge. Laughing emoji. Just destroyed his argument. Mexico for Mexicans, this says. Okay. Well, we didn't learn that much from this one. Yeah, so we'll watch we'll watch this one. No, so before it starts, we're back at this sign. And I'm gonna translate what it says. And this is the cope that some of these people are. You can't see it that well there. Okay. Well, what it says is, let me see what this one says actually. Don't gentrify original town. I don't know what that says. But this one, it says return to your empire in decline. Out of here, gringo, retired, something. I'm sure there's more words at the bottom. Return to your empire in decline. Assuming somehow that like Mexico is better. If Americans are living in Mexico, it's not because we're in decline and they're like escaping or something. They're like refugees. It's because they have so much more spending power. Why do they have so much spending power? Because the U.S. economy is so much stronger than Mexico's. So then, how can you somehow position yourself as the superior country? Like go back to your country when they're the ones with the spending power. It's like here in the U.S. we're not worried about some Mexican person coming and spending money because how much spending power could they have? They're not going to destroy the economy like the Americans have in Mexico or skyrocket the prices because of all the demand has shot up because so many people came in. Like, this is just cope, what this person's doing. This post, anyway. I don't know if she put this up, but it seems like a lot of the people are just coping. Anyway, let's see what some of these say. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered on July 4th in Mexico City to protest against gentrification. Let's see if I'm still in frame here. Oh, look at this. Shut up, white. Shut up, whitey, is what this says. With a picture of Trump and his eyes X'd out. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered in Mexico City. Protesters highlighted the struggles faced by locals due to soaring rents and neighborhood transformations. Gringo go home, like I said, a common one. But this isn't racist. The influx of U.S. migrants in districts like Colonia Condesa has exacerbated gentrification issues, prompting calls for legal migration. Pay taxes, speak Spanish, use... Hold on, bro. Look at that proxy here. Wait, did I go too far back? Hold on. Pay taxes, speak Spanish, use pesos, or get out of here. This person. Go back to your country is what this person is saying. Pay taxes, speak English, use the... Okay, well, to be fair, all of these, I guess Mexican immigrants mostly pay taxes mostly, and use dollars. But I mean, the speak English part, like, come on, bro. Like, if somebody's like, speak English or get out of here. Like, and you wouldn't be calling them racist if that was the case? Let me see what this back one says. It's not paradise if the locals can't pay for it. I guess that's what this is. Ethnic foreigners are working remotely in Mexico City due to the low cost of living compared to American cities. Mexico for the Mexicans is what that other sign said. America for the Americans. Like, bro. Okay, this person is comparing gentrification to colonization. I don't know what this says. Regeneración, no gentrificación. Regeneration, not gentrification. I don't know what they mean by that. This is what I was getting at with the rents. Okay, let's read this. Okay, this one's understandable. I hate not being able to live where I grew up. Effing gringo. Paratex Rigatella. But this one, urge control de rentas. So obviously, I mean, you can basically make out what it says. This person's asking for rent controls. Now, the reason these people can't live here is partly due to displacement, right? Gentrification. But like I said earlier, like when the demand goes up in a perfect market, the supply also goes up. If you have a lot more renters and you need affordable housing and there's a market for it, then some capitalist is going to create the supply. They're going to build a new high rise where all the poor people can go live, and you're going to be able to afford it. And, you know, the rent is going to be as low as you can afford. Now, obviously, when that doesn't happen, it's because there's something in the way. And usually that's regulation. And if you have regulation, you know, to where it's difficult, well, then obviously you're not going to have that supply. And obviously the rents are going to keep going up because the supply is the same and the demand keeps going up. And the only people who are going to be able to afford to live there are the Americans, as we're seeing. So the answer isn't rent control. It's get more supply. It's get out of the way. Get the red tape out of the way. I don't know how hard it is to build in Mexico, to be fair. But encourage supply. You know, don't reduce it by making rent controls and being like, it's not profitable to be a landlord anymore, so I'm not going to make any new buildings. Which is exactly what's going to happen if you have rent controls. If anything, you're going to decrease the supply. You're going to exacerbate the problem. Oh, I actually didn't know this. Many Americans can stay in Mexico for up to 180 days without a visa. Damn, that's a long time.
The reason we gathered here is precisely to hear the thoughts of many victims, mainly young people today for whom it's almost impossible to live, to find housing. It's not just that. We're living the consequences of gentrification, which is the government directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power, often illegally displacing local populations who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50, and we have documented cases of up to 60 years. The main issues are precisely the rising rent costs, which is the only housing model the government provides. In 5 years, rents have increased by 47%. This is violent for the local population. We are debating whether to pay for electricity, water, or food. Of course, we choose to eat.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm sympathetic to this. Obviously, the Mexican government should do something to protect the locals from the large influx of immigrants. The same way the American government should do for us against the large influx of foreigners from Mexico or wherever else. You know what I mean? You can't just let them all in. You have to have borders. And the Mexicans are quickly discovering that it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Many of these Americans often choose to leave only when they reach the 6-month limit. So can they express concerns about the rise? Noting rents have surged significantly. I wonder if you can leave and then
Primarily,
come back.
if they're going to come to live in a country, they have to contribute to that country. The first and simplest issue is legal migration. They come here with visas or no visas. And still the change in purchasing power generates these problems of gentrification and displacement.
Okay, that's interesting. An interesting video. Let's see what the comments say here. 30-day visa limit rule. Yeah, like, I'm not against this. If the Mexican government wants to intervene, I think that's fine. But don't yell racist whenever the U.S. does the same. You know what I mean? I don't blame them. It's their country. If they wanted to stay Mexican, good for them. We're saying the same thing here. That's all we want. You stay on your side, and we'll stay on our side, all right? And we have a nice closed border. You know, maybe Claudia Sheinbaum, maybe she can put up some money for the border wall. You know what I'm saying? This is how we're feeling. And everybody stay in their country and live happily ever after. We should require a visa for every foreigner who wants to set foot in Mexico and regulate the sale of real estate for them. That's, like I said, just imagine these comments, but backwards. Just imagine. They should require a visa for every foreigner who wants to set foot in the U.S. We should. Obviously, it doesn't happen because people come in illegally, and regulate the sale of real estate for them. 100%. Why is the US not doing this? You know what I mean? 100%. I agree with this guy. They're finally dealing with the same situation we have been dealing with, of course. Now, I know some comments going to say something stupid. It's where they're being invaded. They are being invaded. Are we not being invaded? USA residents are not dealing with gentrification. The problem is different. Gentrification is an issue everywhere, so true. This might be the most ironic video I've ever seen in my life. And I don't disagree, if you go to somebody's country, you should speak their language. So looking at you guys, you need to learn English when in America. So true, this guy gets it. Well, guess what? Just in case you people didn't know, that the new generation has always spoken English. Is this person referring to like first generation Americans? I mean, I guess he's not wrong, but like, bro, there's still a large portion. This is only true because there's not a large, I know people whose first language is not English. Like people who grow up speak. I know teachers who, there's kids in the schools who like don't speak English because they don't speak English at home. So this comment is obviously just false, you know? Just increase. Okay, well this isn't real. I was gonna say just increase tax on foreigners. Imagine that, but working on foreign wages, that makes sense when you're coming from richer countries. Mexicans and Americans hating each other for speaking European languages. Funny. No way those people invade USA and now they're telling Americans to get out of their country. The audacity. That's funny. It's clear you're ignoring two things. That your nationality is not American, and the foreigners who stay in Mexico do not pay taxes, unlike Hispanic immigrants who contribute up to 90% of taxes in the United States. Do you notice any difference? I couldn't be clear. Damn, just casual F-bombs in here. Let there be, oh my gosh, let there be a free flow between all of the Americas. Aren't you seeing that people don't want this, you idiot? Anyway, I can't be arsed to read the rest of these comments. I tried the last video.
Con un trabajo remoto, Aarón vive cómodamente en la Ciudad de México, un lujo que asegura no podía darse en Phoenix, Arizona, de donde emigró hace 3 años.
In Phoenix, I wasn't able to save. I was living paycheck to paycheck, even with a well-paying job. Here, with that $2,000 a month, you make more than that, you're able to save that. Whereas in the U.S., you're really struggling at those income levels.
El encarecido costo de vida en Estados Unidos ha orillado a que miles de jóvenes como Aarón abandonen su país y residan en la capital mexicana. A la oferta inmobiliaria, gastronómica y buen clima, ahora dice se suman razones políticas para migrar al país vecino.
A lot of people have moved here because they can raise their family or kids here and not have to worry about gun violence in their schools.
Los principales solicitantes de residencia en México son los estadounidenses.
Okay, well, we already saw most of this. I'm just going to come down and read some of the comments. Stop calling this Little America. They're the ones who should adapt to Mexico, not the other way around. So like I said, again, just hypocrisy. Little America and Mexico, and what continent do you think Mexico is on? What? North America? What's this person saying? Because it's a continent, you can't... Oh, because we share a continent, I guess is what this person's saying. We'll call it Little USA. Is that the problem? Little USA. Anyway, yeah, this first comment. They're the ones who should be adapting to Mexico, not the other way around. I know there's a shitstorm in these comments. Never mind. They only want to speak English. Yeah. The problem comes from them. They ask for a tourist visa, but in reality, they're working from Mexico. That is illegal, and they do not pay taxes. See, I see this commonly, but I don't know how that works, them not paying taxes. And mind you, I assume the reason they don't pay taxes is because they pay taxes to the U.S. Whenever people bring up like, oh, immigrants, it's different for immigrants in the United States because they are paying taxes. Well, they don't have to pay taxes to Mexico. You know, if you're a Mexican immigrant living here, you ain't paying taxes to Mexico. But if you're an American, what are you going to pay both? Taxes to Mexico and the United States? Like, you know what I mean? Just absurd. But I don't know. I read that comment. It's not really here nor there. Everything is more expensive because they come for pleasure and we come for work. And they don't want us in our country or theirs. We should take action. Fine, we should all take action. Go back to the country you were born in, and that's that. Call it a day. I don't know. One of the most annoying things is that same business owners remove the Spanish language or give preference to English. One thing is to have the option of English menu or waiters about displacing them from the Mexicans. That's funny. Well, like I said, the same is true here in the United States. There's some places where they only speak to you in Spanish, and you're going to struggle if you don't speak Spanish. So the shoe is now on the other foot, but that's really all I have to say. I think this is a great comment here. We should take action. They don't want us in their country. We don't want them in ours. I agree. Everybody go back to the country you're born in, and that's that. No more promised prosperity from here until eternity. Amen. That's where I'll end.